first item is item number 41 on tonight's agenda. It's an ordinance to amend section 15035 and 1076 of the Woods Dallas revised municipal code relating to the 1.5% charge per month on bills not paid by the due date. Required penalty to be charged per month based on the rate for water, which is approved to the Public Works Service Commission. Briefly, I got to speak with Mike prior to the meeting, and he said all this is cleaning up our language, that our bill says 1%, but it's really 1.5, so it's, or the bill says 1.5, and our old ordinance said 1. I'll let you explain.
Yeah, our PSC rules that we have to do is says 1%. Our ordinance says 1.5. So we've been charging 1% forever. We're just clarifying and cleaning up discrepancy.
Move approval.
Second.
It was moved by Alderman Weigel, seconded by Alderman. It was pretty close there. Where the heck's your name, Ranky? Ranky, there it is. With that, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. This also was brought to the attention by Alderman Rote to the engineer, so thank you, Alderman Rote. I believe it was you that brought it to his attention.
Oh, okay. Yes, it was. Thank you.
Item number 42, resolution. Is this the one where? No. Okay, resolution relative to accepting the proposal of Vermeer, Wisconsin, for furnishing a new Vermeer brush clipper for the total sum of $41,035.
Yeah, budgeted item. Just
We're buying
replacing
new?
an old.
You didn't get a deal on it somewhere?
We got a deal on the trade-in, I believe, and
Move for approval.
Second.
Gets mixed. It's
Yeah.
like buying a car.
You guys usually do a real good job of
Who
beating
did the
price.
move? Chaplowski, seconded by Alderman Weigel.
Yep.
Budgeted, everything is with that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Number 43, the resolution to approve the bid of American Sewer Services for the installation of sanitary sewer relays, sanitary sewer spot relays, and miscellaneous utility adjustments in various locations within the city of West Dallas in the amount of $668,057. Mike?
This is our spot sewer work, repair work. Holes that we find in the pipe with our televising work that we do every year. And it certainly is a lot of money, but there's a lot of work that's needed to be done out there, a lot of patchwork.
Move to approve.
Moved by Alderman
Second.
Ranky, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Further discussion?
Mike, this was close to budget. I mean, your forecasting models have been working well yet? Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I'd like to take 44 through 46 as a block vote, if nobody minds. 44 through 46 are resolutions accepting the work of different contractors.
Approval,
And
Mr. Chair.
been moved by Alderman Rote, seconded by Alderman Ranky. With that, it's been moved by Alderman Rote, seconded by Alderman Ranky. Is there further discussions on items number 44 through 46? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 47 is a joint referral that came before us tonight. It's a resolution approving the proposal from Energies?
Energetics.
From Energet, it's hard to see. For replacement of the programmable logic controls at the water reservoir in the amount not to exceed $28,000.
This is our computer control system at the water reservoir. It handles the elevation fluctuations of the underground reservoir, our elevated water tanks, measures various inputs and outputs in order to operate our system out there. The original was put in, I've been told, in 1993. Jimmy Janowitz acknowledges, boy, you got your life out of what is essentially a computer system. And it is proprietary, just like Microsoft. You can only get it from Microsoft, and the upgrades and that we're talking about here. Otherwise, we'd get stuck replacing the whole system, and I don't even want to know what that costs.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Alderman Weigel?
Mike, so this energetics, they're like this is what they do pretty much,
That's what
is municipal services and.
They've been around for as long as I've been in this business. I used to know the owner.
Okay, so it's a Wisconsin company or locally or?
He was a local company. I don't know what they are now. It's been a little while. I mean, that was prior lives and prior jobs when I.
But this isn't
they're
just like
very
a
good.
patchwork on keeping
Oh, no.
something old.
No.
They are up with the latest tech on everything. Okay.
They've been around for a long time, and I'm confident they're gonna be. They give us excellent service in the past, according to my staff.
I always have water when I open my thing, so.
Me too.
Move to approve.
That is a good thing.
Yep.
Second.
I don't think anybody wanted to.
I heard him move.
Who did the motion to approve?
I did.
Well, Rosalie did, I'm sorry.
Alderman Ranky, seconded by Alderman Weigel? Okay. With that, it's been moved by Alderman Ranky, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 48, communication from Peter Daniels, Principal Engineer regarding the 2015 Capital Improvement Program. Mike?
I believe Peter sent that out to you by
Yep.
email. That's our proposed program for 2015. It was looked at by the advisory committee last Thursday, I believe. but,
Anybody needs a copy? You have one here?
It was in there.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah. Alderman Rote?
I'm skipping ahead, and the special assessment rates are gonna remain the same?
No, we're proposing a 5% increase. The assessment rates, or the work did increase for concrete this year about 8%, and the asphalt streets went up about 15%. Now, we're suggesting a 5% increase in rates, I don't think anybody can really stomach a 10% or 15% rate increase. I know in the past, the board has always wanted to be reasonably consistent with or keep up with the rate of inflation. Obviously, it's your call on what to do.
What was it, 25, 30, what was the other?
For concrete, it was about 8%
Okay.
increase. Asphalt roadways were about 15%. So,
I think one of the things that happened at the almost every public hearing is when Pete will go through the public hearing and he'll say at one point the citizens were assessed at 100%. And over time, obviously, that's been adjusted and usually not in the city's favor, but when the people come up for a new road and it comes in front of them, they don't think so. Because that amount of money is getting higher. So, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
But in front of us is only 48. I didn't do a joint,
I'm sorry,
so
I
you did skip ahead.
skipped that.
So number 48,
Move approval.
moved by Alderman Weigel, second.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Ranky. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. What was just discussed, number 49, communication
move
from...
for approval.
Second.
Who's that, Chaplowski? Chaplowski, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Any further discussion? Alderman
Mr.
Weigel?
So, but we're gonna be okay even if we're not notching it up as rapidly as inflation, as we're thinking inflation's gonna be. But it's gonna have an impact on how many projects we can do eventually,
Yes.
right? Because we have a cap on what we can spend on this out of the general, so we're gonna be okay.
No, we're losing that percentage.
Yeah.
And I mean, this year, because of the increased rates, we had to suspend till next year our sidewalk program. Because we simply didn't have the money budgeted in there because we were taking such a hit on the projects coming in. But no, are we falling behind? Yes, we are. Like every other community in the United
Well,
States and probably the world.
And I guess my concern is that as the economy rebounds, we're gonna expect, we've been benefiting from a bad economy on material and manpower costs, but I think the economy's rebounding, I'm not sure yet, but it's gonna have to turn around eventually, and so we're gonna see some real upward pressure on our pricing.
I believe we are, and of course, the zoo interchange and that work is taking a lot of capacity
Resources.
Yeah.
and resources to go over there. At least I believe it so. Now, you talk to the DOT, they'll say no.
Oh, no.
And when the zoo is done, then comes Highway 100. When Highway 100, then comes 894.
No, 94 East is next.
That's it, up
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
And the prices keep going up.
yeah.
There's no end to this. Okay, on 49, it's been moved by Alderman...
Move for approval.
Already.
Alderman Chaplowski, seconded by Alderman Weigel. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Number 50, communication from the Assistant City Attorney regarding notice of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District and an additional non-compliant sewer sheds in West Dallas. I think everybody got the emails on that.
Yeah, I believe, if I remember,
Right.
you'll send out. Yeah, in summary, MMSD has added 3 more sewer basins onto the 4 that we've got already that are in non-compliance, asking for a plan of attack by October 15th that we'll bring back to you, to inform you what we're looking at engineering-wise. I think it makes Joe's proposed program regarding private I&I lateral work that much more important, because unless we address laterals, there's no chance that we're gonna be able to get into compliance with what MMSD is demanding. And they've got the DNR on their side.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel?
Mike, do you know how we fare with, I think I asked you earlier today, you said we'd have about 28 of these sewer sheds, which are like mini versions of watersheds. It's not a shed structure, it defines a basin or drainage. How are we comparing with our compliance rate with other communities, say Wauwatosa, Greenfield? Do you have any idea where other communities are at and what they're looking at for solutions, as long as you keep bringing up your proposed
Yeah.
solution?
No, I don't have detailed information on what they're proposing.
I always like to know what our
We'll
neighbors
find
are
out.
doing, how they're being affected by the DNR, because the DNR isn't just looking at us,
No.
you know?
But I can tell you, Joe would have an idea. He attends the meetings, the advisory meetings down at MMSD
I'll give Joe a
headquarters
call.
now. And when he gets back from vacation on Monday, he can see.
Could- Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Alderman.
could he get that out to us prior to this October 15th?
Oh,
Recommendation by
what
DNR?
our plan of attack is? Oh, yeah, we'll be bringing that back. Yeah, to you, discussing what we're looking to do and how we're looking to do it. Now, it probably won't include much in the way of the I&I program, since in all likelihood it won't be even acted upon by then. But I'm just saying that the overall goal to get into compliance, if we don't attack the problems at the private laterals, we're
So October.
gonna be dead in the water.
Mr. Chair, are we assessed a penalty?
Not right
For
now.
non-compliance?
There has been talk about penalties.
Okay,
It's been kind of mentioned by MMSD. It hasn't, to my knowledge, it hasn't gone very far other than that, but I'm sure that they are thinking about it.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Alderman.
So October 15th is our date to respond, or that's MMSD telling us what to do by October
No,
15th?
what they're saying is that we're requesting that the city provide a schedule to address these newly identified non-compliant watersheds by no later than October 15th. And that'll be a drawn-out plan. I mean, they realize that we're not gonna be able to fix this in a year and a half. I mean, this is gonna take an overall plan, which gets stretched out over a time period, reasonable time
Could be a
period.
5-year schedule.
Could be even more than
Yeah,
that.
they just want to schedule.
Because we're kind of missing it by a lot. For example, one of the basins, we're supposed to have a little over 40,000 gallons per acre per day, and MMSD's limit is 21. So we have to essentially cut that
That's
flow in
50%.
half. So again, it's not going to be done in a year and a half. The other one's almost as bad. It's about 36,000, and they want 21 again. So not quite 50, 40%.
Any further discussion?
Move the place on file.
second.
Moved by Alderman Chaplesky, seconded by Alderman Ranky. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. With that, that'll conclude Public Works. Turn the meeting over to Mickey Chaplesky, Chairman of License and Health.
We didn't have 51?
No, we're gonna hold 51 and 52.
Call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Mike.
Waiting for the city attorney, so number 65. Do I have a motion to place this on file?
So moved.
Second.
Is that Alderman Rowe?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Just really, we're missing one person. right?
See ya.
Yeah.
No, stay. Okay,
Move for
number
approval on
66.
66 and 67, subject to necessary requirements.
Do I have a second?
Second. No, that was a tie. What are you gonna do?
Go with Barzak, alphabetical.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? 68. Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We have number 69. This is a license for
Chips in.
event application. Let's
Move
see.
to approve.
Second.
Uh,
It's Kips, right?
Any
Yeah.
further discussion? Is 11 o'clock the normal time?
Saturday.
We've been doing it on Saturdays?
Yep.
Okay. Just a minute. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 70, Class B.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel?
that includes the new restaurant, the Vietnamese restaurant on National Avenue?
I don't think so. No, I think they were separate.
Those should be all the old ones that are
These
for
are all the
renewal.
$10 picnic licenses.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 71 is gonna be held. And then we have 72.
Move approval?
Second.
Any further discussion? One second, please. Oh. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the discussion item on Porn America. And I had a request from Chamber of Commerce to speak. Like to speak?
Oh, yes, thank you. I was
Yeah.
asked to relay, on behalf of the West Dallas, West Milwaukee Chamber of Commerce and our legislative committee, our full support, of Pawn America. They are a chamber member and we've been communicating on a regular basis regarding, some of the issues with the neighborhood. I was also asked to relay that we are concerned about the requirement that they issue checks for the financial transactions over $25, and as a board, we feel that it's unreasonable. We feel that because we, wanna know what exactly the purpose is of that. What we've heard in past meetings is that the reason is that the neighbors are concerned that there could be secondary transactions relating to drugs and prostitution. We feel that this is a perception and not a valid reason to implement this requirement. There have been no violations to date of any type at this business. We've also heard that the reason is to get people to think twice about doing business at Pawn America. Implementing this may in fact drive business away from them. How is this fair to this business? How is this fair to the people that are struggling due to unemployment, financial hardship, to require them to find a bank to cash the check and then also be charged for it? In their attempts to work with the older people in the neighborhoods, they proposed a compromise, which was to write checks in the amount of over $250, and we feel that it should be considered.
Okay, that's it.
Mr. Chair, if I could?
Alderman Weigel?
I just wanna say, this is actually a bigger discussion. This isn't just about one particular location, in my mind. And it actually I actually touched on it a little bit tonight where we have another location, and it's not just about pawn, okay? Pawn would be the act where a business loans money by taking in an article, whatever, as collateral on the loan, and then the borrower, customer, whatever, would eventually, could conceivably redeem the loan and get their article back. I think there's also a potential concern with our secondhand dealer license locations. Just as I mentioned tonight, public hearing on this numismatics place, and the question is, if we're going to do some sort of plan of operation, and again, I touched on this, and we're working on a written plan of operation with one particular business at this time, and in my mind, it's gonna be an attempt to get a kind of a consistent plan across all of these locations, so that when a business comes in and says, I'm only going to take in gold and jewelry and stamps and nothing else, and he has it in writing, that when it turns into, or potentially turns into something else, then we'd have an ability to revoke their special use. I guess that's the discussion I wanted to have here. And also the idea that we could potentially, I think everybody in the committee is familiar with the Nooper system and how it works, the pawn registry system. And I don't know if we're gonna stay with Noopers or if we're gonna go to one of the other software systems that are available out there. They're certainly faster, better than the old note cards, for secondhand items that are either sold or pawned. But especially at very high volume locations, I think it might be behoove us to look at some sort of fee structure where we can redeem some of the costs associated with these systems for the police and then administration. Those are the kinds of things I'd like to talk about and understand what people's feedback is on the committee here, so. And where we stand with the city attorney on what our options are on this, so.
First of all, I want to clarify here that, and it's not written in the discussion item, there's 3 licenses that they have.
At 76th and Lincoln, yes, they have 3 different
Right.
licenses.
So this one just has the secondhand dealer. This doesn't have this. Oh, it does have secondhand jewelry, the secondhand dealers. I'm sorry, I missed that. But
And I certainly, as far as the dollar limit, I certainly, you know, my thought on this originally, and I think the police would tell you, and again, I don't, you know, I think these drug transactions can happen at very low dollar amounts, okay? I would think it would be unreasonable to expect any business to be required to issue a check from $1 on either a pawned item or a secondhand sold item. And I thought $25 was a reasonable compromise on where you could expect, you know, apparently drug deals happen at $10. I don't know this, but you know, I think I saw it in Time Magazine this week. They had what all the different drugs cost. Did anybody see that little chart in Time Magazine, the latest Time Magazine? I was shocked. Okay, but to me, $25 is just an attempt to cut down on these secondary transactions. They could happen anywhere around, conceivably around. I hate to say it, around any, not just pawn. We only have 2 pawn licenses in our community, but it wouldn't happen necessarily just at pawn. I think if we're going to look at this, we might want to actually look at doing it at all secondhand dealer locations. Sewing machine shop has a secondhand, you know, on Greenfield Avenue. You know, Record Head. You know, we have computer stores. You know, that could conceivably be taking in items off the street and handing the customer cash. So I wanted to have this discussion here in the committee and see what other people's thoughts are on it.
Okay, I have the second-hand jewelry license, and I write a check to everybody. I don't care how much it is.
And is that a strain on your business? Is it a strain on your customers?
No, it's not. But I don't do a tremendous amount of business in it.
And what's your typical dollar
And
amount?
so,
$100.
you know, probably right around there. I don't have a lot of it, you know. But if we do pass this, I'm just saying that, you know, someone thinks about opening a business up in the city, you know, they're going to consider it. We're putting our city at a disadvantage compared to other businesses. And I don't want to, you know, I understand the whole case with here, but I'm just saying, as far as the jewelry part of it, because almost every jewelry store has one of these licenses, you know, and
Now, do the big chains, as a matter of course, and there's still chain jewelry stores, I imagine, do they hand out cash, or is it always?
they don't have them.
They don't have a second?
Changers, they don't buy
do,
it.
okay.
Like in the malls and stuff, they don't usually normally buy that, no. But it's more of the small, you know, businesses, and a lot of them are doing great business with it, so.
Mr. Chair? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I echo what you're saying. I think that we need to keep our city a place that's open for business and business friendly. This could be a step too far and would be excessive, especially if applied to other businesses. I do have problems with that particular requirement of issuing a check for transactions above $25.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Oh,
Also, you could say one way to look at this is, well, let's just go after the pawn licenses, okay? Again, we only have 2 of those in the city at this time. But then do you say, within the pawn license business, if it's a pawned item, then they have to issue a check, but if it's just a straight up sold item, they're still due the cash. And how would we differentiate between that? Are we gonna send undercover cops in to see what they're doing? You know, it gets a little problematic, you know, so I don't wanna be seen as anti-business. And honestly, I don't see this as anti-business, I see this as pro-neighborhood, but, you know, that's the way I'm looking at it right now.
Well, I think that's where we're caught,
Yeah,
because it is destroying a neighborhood. I mean, when you have a business as successful as Pawn America is, and you know, Moline was never that successful, you know, as far as buying off the street. That's why there wasn't as many people there. But punishing, we're punishing their success, you know, which we want a business to be successful. But on the other hand, we have the neighborhood, which I'm not denying that they are destroying because of the type of people that are drawn to that. It's really the people that are drawn to that are destroying it, not the business itself.
Sure.
But if they weren't there, it wouldn't happen.
I agree with you 100%,
Yeah.
exactly the way you said it, I believe there's other routes to go to control the business, and I stated them in my last meeting. We do have a nuisance ordinance, and if this is requiring a nuisance, X amount of police calls, it falls right under the nuisance ordinance as far as what I can see. But like I'm not the city attorney. I think the city attorney would be able to define what is a nuisance, what is not a nuisance. And from what I'm hearing, and again, I don't have any facts. There are no facts in front of me. All I have is hearsay and what I've heard from, you know, the residents, which I'm sure they're not kidding. This would probably be the exact perfect business that would fall underneath and exactly what that ordinance is intended to curtail. That's my opinion. I think going the route we're going is being a little bit harsh to all business, and that's a little bit of the problem.
and that's the problem.
Yeah,
We'd have a whole class of businesses
Right.
that we'd have to regulate with this.
Correct.
And once again, then we have to regulate.
Yes.
How do we regulate it? So,
Do you have, Scott, do you have an opinion on the nuisance, or can you share anything about it, or?
Well, as Alderman Barzak said, right now we're operating in a factual vacuum. We've heard complaints from citizens and comments and public participation, but that's not actual testimony that you can weigh credibility. That only can take place during a formal hearing. So we could go the nuisance route, but nuisance is not just based on police calls, it's based on police calls with violations of the law that are there. And from my discussions with members of the police department, there are very few of those at Pawn America. I hear the neighbors talk, and there are a lot of them that are there. So it's a matter of what facts would be established at a hearing if that's the route you went. In terms of, you know, there are two distinct things going on here. One is what can be done and applied to Pawn America currently, and the discussion of potential ordinance changes. They're two completely different things. Right now, our ordinance is very bare bones with regard to pawn shops and secondhand dealer shops. No plan of operation is required. We can't require that of them. So whatever they agree to in a plan of operation is exactly that. It has to be voluntary. And if any alderman or this committee isn't happy with what is agreed upon in a plan of operation, you can feel free to make whatever motion you want. You know, the license either needs to be acted on, or we need to afford them a due process hearing where formal charges are given to them, and they then get that chance to have a formal hearing with witnesses called and testimony given, where you can then weigh the credibility of the witnesses and make a determination. That's for Pawn America currently. Right now, there's nothing, no ordinance that we have that requires a plan of operation, that requires a check to be written in whatever dollar amount. And so that would have to be an ordinance that's done later on and doesn't apply currently. And I think it would have to apply to all businesses in the class. Potentially either all pawn shops or all pawn shops and secondhand dealers. You couldn't just pick out one individual business and apply it to them. It has to apply to a class of businesses. And you've done a nice job discussing the pros and cons of it, so I won't go into those.
Would video evidence satisfy the rule as far as whether they're creating a nuisance?
Well, potentially. The video has to depend on what it shows, but then it also needs to tie them to the business. And so if that is done, then potentially there's an argument there that that's sufficient proof. For example, somebody, you know, either leaving the business and doing something violating the law, or violating the law and then entering the business, that would be substantial proof, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then it's going back as far as if we just wanted to go after Pawn American, say they had to have anything over $25. Just them. And they don't wanna agree to the stipulation, any type of agreement. Can we just say, well, that's what we're voting on?
No, we don't have the right under our ordinance to impose a plan of operation like we do for tavern
Right.
establishments, for example. We require a plan of operation, and when you've gotten, and it's just a standard form, but when you've gotten yourself into trouble, as this committee knows, you will then impose certain conditions on their plan of operation. That's by ordinance. We don't have that for any other business other than taverns.
And if we were to get an ordinance now for that, would they be grandfathered until the next license, or how does that work?
Yeah, it would take effect for the next license year. You couldn't apply it to this current license that you've been holding.
Right, so we could draft an ordinance that mirrors the Class B liquor license for just pawn or secondhand dealers, then make everyone who applies for, and it could go into effect as soon as next July 1st.
Correct.
Right, and so then everybody in the city who applies for one of these licenses will have to go through this 11 pages, well, I think the liquor one is like 11 pages or whatever. But like, this wouldn't be that, because
It wouldn't be
there's
that.
no jukeboxes, yeah, I mean,
Right,
it's
you don't have
it's a different
jukeboxes,
kind
you
of
don't
thing.
have
Yeah.
the big area where
But,
people
and
congregate.
again, my concern is, we have we have a new business, welcome new business to our community, but we go through this with, we had the cheese and gift shop that wanted a wine license because they promised, and they've stuck to their word, but our concern is from the liquor side was people would say one thing, place on 60th Street was gonna do Kobe beef hamburgers. And it turned into something else.
2 pool tables go in.
It turned into something else. And I don't know what the future of the secondhand dealer business is, but I just don't want it to turn into, and this might help us with, like, in the downtown, we always had this thing about, we want an antique store, but we don't want a secondhand junk store. But if we had a written plan of operation that said, I will buy these things, I won't buy these things, or I will buy these things and I'll issue a check or whatever the plan. So that's something we could get in place conceivably as quickly as next July 1st.
Yeah, we could get the ordinance in place quicker, but it really wouldn't take effect until July
Yeah,
1st when the
next
new
July
licenses
1st.
come up, because they already have their licenses.
So,
Even though we haven't approved it yet.
Well, even Pawn America, I mean, their license was applied for.
Yeah,
so
before
it's
the thing,
applied for.
And
Everybody's-
you can't change the
yeah.
terms and conditions upon
Yeah.
which they,
But
once
this
they
would-
make their application.
but I think we have like 30 or 50 of these kind of secondhand dealer licenses. 30, I'm trying to remember the number. I asked for it specifically from staff and I have it, but I don't remember what it is. And again, this is not something we could just put on one location. We could do it citywide. And I guess the question is, does anybody else do? I don't like being the first people to try something, because if it's gonna get challenged in court. Do you know if anybody else is doing this kind of, I don't wanna say micromanaging, but
That's what-
micromanaging in that
You
other
may not
businesses.
wanna say it, but that's what
Not
it
that I
is.
know of, no. Taverns are
Taverns
the
are-
ones
well,
that
'cause
are
they're
heavily regulated like
Yeah.
that. I'm not aware of other businesses that are regulated like that.
Well, we have put restrictions on secondhand dealers, and where we have put the restrictions is no drop-offs, et cetera. I mean, we've put that right into there. We're not gonna get you the permit if you don't agree to this. But that's as they're applying for their permit. It's not after the fact, which is the problem.
And for those, it's also part of their special use.
Correct.
That's like
yeah.
a Purple Heart kind of donation.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is a discussion item, I don't know, there's no vote or anything, but I think, we need to think
Well,
it over.
I think it'll help us craft what any resolution changes.
I think more discussion needs to be done. I'd like to find out what the other people are doing too in other communities,
Yeah. I'm afraid that we're gonna be out in front on this one.
as we usually are.
Monica, something?
We can check with Milwaukee and see if there's something that they're doing. And also the renewal notices for this particular license, they go out in March.
So whatever we have, we'd want in place by
March.
certainly by then.
Before March.
Yeah, and there'd probably be a public hearing on would that resolution need a public hearing if we're gonna do that?
An
Ordinance,
no,
yeah.
Only zoning code requires a public hearing. You could have one, but you would not be required to.
Is there any further discussion on this? Okay, so we'll just keep discussing it, come up with something. With that,
Move to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that yours or mine?
That was really easy for me.
Yeah, we're getting.
Walk in the middle.
Well, we had all the
In
easy
there.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all.